Most men will put their dick in a chicken sandwich. You're listening to In Bed with Science, a sex podcast. I'm Lee Noren, a sex therapist with a Master of Science in Sexology and over 13 years of coaching, counseling, and therapy experience. And in today's minisode, we're talking about the fact that men have low libido too. So, most men will put their dick in a chicken sandwich. It's a blanket statement. And when we use blanket statements like these about men, essentially what we're saying is men are obsessed with sex. So obsessed, in fact, that they would have sex with anyone or anything just to have sex. And earlier this year, a participant on the Netflix show Love is Blind made this controversial statement, and she probably meant a few different things about it, and it was kind of flippant and funny. But as a sex therapist who specializes in low libido, to me, it actually does quite a lot of harm because it states that men are pretty much walking erections, right? And we've been told this story for decades and decades that men always want sex and that they're completely sort of uncomplicated in their sexuality and that they'll take anything they can get. And the issue with this is, sure, maybe for some men it feels like that applies to them. But for the men that it doesn't apply to, for the male clients that I've seen over the years, these kinds of jokes and statements about male sexuality create real problems. Because when men don't fit that mold, inevitably, they end up feeling like something is seriously wrong. So either with them themselves, so they believe that it has to be a hormonal issue, or they feel like they're not living up to who they're meant to be as a man, or their partner believes that something is wrong with them or with themselves because supposedly men are always raring to go. And so sometimes these difficulties then show up as you trying to have sex that you don't actually want to have, only to then perhaps struggle with your erection. Or you might be able to get hard and stay hard, but you're not really present for the moment. You're simply doing your job. You're kind of living up to that role. Essentially, you're performing sex. You're in your head evaluating yourself. You're trying to get it all right instead of feeling things, feeling the stuff that might be there otherwise, like those sparks or that emotional connection or that physical pleasure. And when you're caught up in questioning who you are as a man, and you're struggling perhaps to have sex at all, or you're having sex that you don't really want so that you can feel quote unquote normal, you often end up being consumed by shame and embarrassment. And so many male clients I've spoken to over the years, especially the men that are in hetero relationships, they feel like they have nowhere to turn. So they have no one they can talk to about this, least of all their partner or their friends. Because seeking help in and of itself is often seen as unmanly by society. Right? Men shouldn't need help. They should be able to solve things themselves. And because we believe that mental health and sexual health concerns are sort of weaknesses in men, that they're proof of our own failings somehow, we retreat. So when we retreat, sexual health concerns like low libido or erectile dysfunction can then turn into mental health concerns like anxiety or depression. It's a vicious cycle. And part of what keeps it alive and well is this kind of consistent pressure that we put on men as a society to want sex all the time and to be completely uncomplicated in their sexuality. And we don't put that same pressure on women. In fact, a lot of times we talk about female sexuality as kind of mysterious and complex, and that's an issue in and of itself. But the point is, cultural myths around libido create libido problems, and they exacerbate the ones that already exist. Low desire isn't a gendered experience. It's a human experience. And it's influenced by lots of different things. Things like stress and anxiety and pressure. Things like conflict in the relationship or a lack of emotional intimacy, a focus on performance, or an idea about who you should be sexually that's just not gelling with who you actually are sexually. Desire is complex in a way that we've never been taught. And it's no clearer than in the room with a sex therapist, where we see all of the layers and all of the nuance behind a desire for sex, not just for women or people elsewhere on the gender spectrum, but for men too. So, if you're a person with low desire, please know that you're not alone and that these myths are exactly that. They're myths, they're not truths. And likely, part of the reason why you're experiencing low desire is because of the pressure itself, the pressure to always want sex. Your worth isn't tied to how well or how often you perform sexually. You're so much more than that. That's it for In Bed with Science. Please remember that everything shared in this episode is for informational purposes only and isn't a substitute for medical advice or therapy. For personal support, please reach out to a qualified professional. If you're looking to get your sex drive back without pressure and stress and have more and better sex, head to leanoran.com or click on the link in the show notes to learn more about my services. Thanks for listening.